Hello friends, Koolio here and welcome back to the channel. Today guys, we're going to be talking more about League of Legends Wild Rift. Now, last week when they held the special 10th anniversary live stream, they also had a developer Q&A. It lasted, I believe, about like 10 to 15 minutes where they talked about some of the things that will be in League of Legends Mobile, things that won't be, things that they've kind of streamlined. And so I've decided to go ahead and kind of break it down and talk about the bigger changes, some of the biggest stuff that came out of this developer Q&A. However, if you want to go and watch the video, you can find it online or go watch the live stream when it came out and be able to kind of go through the whole developer Q&A if you want to. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is they talked about the champions and what it was like kind of taking your favorite champions from the PC client and moving it over to Wild Rift. Now they said like one of their biggest focuses when it came to transitioning the champions was overall trying to make the feel of play, like the way that that character plays or that champion plays, they try to make it almost the exact same. So like when you go, if you have a specific favorite champion on the PC client, that when you move over to League of Legends Wild Rift, it'll feel very similar, at least the gameplay style. But they did have to go through and make some changes here and there to how certain abilities worked to streamline it or make it actually viable on the mobile platform. Now, one of the things they talked about was with Misfortune. Now, she has a targeted spell, but in the mobile client, that target spell has now been changed to a directional shot, making it feel better, making her a little bit more versatile too on the mobile platform as opposed to having it as a target spell, but making it just feel a lot better when you're playing it on mobile and making it so that the changes feel better when you're using it with a touch control scheme or using it with a dual joystick kind of controller. Another thing they went on to talk about was Vayne. Now with her, she has, they've added an active attack to her true passive, where the true passive acts more like a damage bonusing to her overall attacks. This one, however, adds an active attack onto her true passive. And then the last one, they did a little bit of a gameplay breakdown for Yasuo, where they talked about how Yasuo's abilities, when they were trying to transition it over to the mobile platform, it was one of the more difficult ones due to the way that he plays, and it took him quite a long of time to try to transition that over to the mobile platform, which the reason why I bring that up is they talked about how they're not really aiming to bring every single champion over to Wild Rift, but they're trying to aim and bring over the champions that feel like they would work really well on the mobile or the console platform, but they are working really hard to try to bring over at least as many champions as they possibly can. Now, the next thing I want to talk about was the changes between the PC version to the mobile version. Now, you've probably have seen it quite a bit in the gameplay. Things such as your base, the Nexus, the map, everything has definitely been changed, and it's not a one-to-one scaling to the PC version, but it's been kind of shrunk down. Now, they talked about some of the changes to the bases. They've combined inhibitors with turrets together, as well as giving the Nexus the ability to fire lasers. And so it kind of makes it so people that are trying to backdoor or take down the Nexus, you could get taken out by the Nexus itself. Doing this kind of makes it so they're able to open up the space in that area, but also shrink it down so that gameplay is more dynamic, a lot faster, and a lot quicker. They also talked about laning. Now, laning in the game is going to still be, very similar to what it's like on the PC version, where you have different stages and stuff kind of going through the lane, where you have top, mid, and bottom. However, they did talk about that if you're playing on the second team or the red team, he went on to say that the map itself has been kind of flipped. They're trying to keep a lot of the action, a lot of the combat in the top right space of your phone or on the console, to make it so it's a little bit easier for your eyes, or a little bit easier to kind of focus in on the action. And so people on the second team or on the red team will have the map flipped, so it's not necessarily that top, mid, or bottom lane, but you have to kind of call out exactly what lane you're going with and kind of twist that in your mind to understand if you're playing with the top person, it may not be the top of the map, it may be down below, but it's still kind of considered that top lane. Now, the next thing they talked about was the rune system as well as the items, giving us a little bit of a hint of how those are going to work. Now, the rune system is something that they really streamlined and trimmed down for the mobile version as compared to the PC one. Rather than having sort of like a tree structure behind it, you go through and pick which runes and stuff you want in each of the rows, as opposed to what it was like before. Now, the next thing they talked about was the items. A lot of the items are still going to be the same. However, they did hint that they are going to add new items to the game that will probably work better for the mobile platform. But they also went on to say that the biggest change to the items was the change to the active items. Now, they can't go through and add a whole bunch of buttons onto the screen. It'll just take up too much real estate. But they did talk about how when you're going through and you're upgrading your boots, the boots, once you've got them to tier 2 and then you go to upgrade them one more time, you'll actually select an active item or an active ability that will be attached to those boots, sort of combining the boots and the active items together. However, they did say that the stats from active items that you see on the PC version aren't going to be transitioning or combining with the boots, just their active ability themselves. Now, some of the last thing they went on to talk about was the updated character models and skins, how they went through, they found that this was a great opportunity to go back and look at some of people's favorite skins as they were transitioning it over to the mobile and the console platform to kind of give them a little bit of a facelift. Now, one of the things I really liked that he went on to say, and with the PC version, I think a lot of you guys will like it as well, is they are going to have the splash art and the animated splash art along with the 3D models in the mobile platform, which I really like that. I'm glad that they're bringing over their splash art and their animated splash art because they look so good. So we're gonna have those on the mobile version, and we're also gonna have the 3D models as well with their awesome 3D animations, so you kind of take a closer look at what they're gonna look like when you're actually playing in the game. Now, the last couple of things they want to talk about is one thing he kind of hinted at is it's been kind of 3 years in the work, planning, and developing the game. Now, that's not necessarily saying that the game itself has been developing or being programmed for the last 3 years, just that the idea of creating a mobile version and a console version of League of Legends has been in the work for quite a long time. They also went on to say, is it possible to link your account with your mobile version? It is, but you aren't going to be able to share skins and champions across the mobile platform, the console platform with your PC version. But they did go on to say that it is possible to, in a lot of areas too, that you can collect a lot of the champions for free simply just by playing through this game. And if you actually go and link your account, and if you've invested heavily in the PC version, you will get some free stuff that will give you kind of a jump start once the mobile version comes out. But remember, they are trying to make it so the game is not pay to win, so we'll have to see that when it actually comes out. The last thing they went on to talk about was, is it possible to play the game on an emulator? And I know a lot of mobile gamers play their mobile games on a PC. Now, this is kind of one of those questions, like, why would you play this game on PC when you have League of Legends? Which he went on to say, like, yeah, you can play our regular League of Legends on the PC. However, there are some people that may want to play League of Legends Wild Rift on an emulator, and they did say that they are going to allow it. There are some game developers and stuff where they kind of program it where the games won't run on an emulator. They said, yes, you can play the game on an emulator. However, there's no plans to make a dedicated PC client so you can do things like BlueStacks or Nox. But they also went on to say, like, he doesn't believe that it will give anyone kind of an advantage because the way that the game is built is the twin joysticks, so you're gonna kind of miss out on some movement and stuff. So, I mean, if some people want to play the game on a PC, it's going to be there. It's going to be available for us to try. But again, you have to remember the way that the game is designed is more designed towards joysticks or, touch controls. So that's the information from the developer Q&A. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys want to hear more about League of Legends Wild Rift, let me know down below. If you guys are brand new to the channel too, consider subscribing because I'm going to be covering League of Legends Wild Rift towards the future. Guys, my name's Koolio, and I'll see you next time.